For years, when a Canadian got priced out of Toronto or Vancouver, there was an answer. One word: Calgary. Calgary was the escape, the big city where you could still afford a life, a real house, a yard, a decent salary, room to breathe, for a fraction of what the coastal cities demanded. People sold their tiny overpriced condos out east or out west, moved to Calgary, bought a proper home with money left over, and felt like they'd finally beaten the system. For a whole generation of priced-out Canadians, Calgary was the promised land, proof that somewhere in this country, an ordinary person could still get ahead. And now, in 2026, that escape is closing. Calgary is getting expensive. The affordability that defined it, that made it the destination for everyone fleeing the coastal cities, is eroding fast. The gap that made it a haven is shrinking. And the people who moved there specifically to escape unaffordability are watching, with a sinking feeling, as the exact thing they fled starts to catch up with them. Now here's why this matters far beyond Calgary. Because Calgary wasn't just another city. It was the proof that you could outrun the crisis, that if the big coastal cities got impossible, you could just move somewhere affordable and be fine. And what's happening to Calgary is the death of that idea. If even the escape city becomes unaffordable, then there was never really an escape at all. Stay with me, because this is the video that closes the last door. To understand what's being lost, you have to understand what Calgary represented, because it was more than a city, it was an idea. Calgary was the counterexample. Every time this channel, or anyone, talked about Canadian unaffordability, there was always a response. Well, it's not like that everywhere. Move to Calgary. It was the living proof that Canada wasn't entirely broken, that there was still a major city with real jobs and real opportunity, where a normal person could buy a home and build a comfortable middle-class life. Space, a strong job market, relatively attainable housing, and a big city economy, the whole package the coastal cities had priced out of reach. And it worked, for a long time. People really did move there and really did get ahead. Families who'd given up on ever owning a home out east suddenly owned one. The Calgary dream was real, and it pulled people from across the country. The one place where the Canadian promise of work hard, own a home, build a life still seemed to hold. So Calgary carried a weight beyond itself. It was the safety valve for the whole country's affordability crisis, the place the pressure could escape to. As long as Calgary existed as an affordable option, you could tell yourself the crisis had a solution. Just move. Hold on to that, because it's exactly what's now breaking. So why is the escape closing? The first reason is the cruel logic of being the affordable option. When you're famous for being the affordable escape, everyone escapes to you, and that's exactly what ends the affordability. Think about what happened. The coastal cities became impossible. Word spread that Calgary was the answer, and so people came, in large numbers, from Toronto, from Vancouver, from across the country, all chasing the same affordable dream. They arrived with something powerful, money from more expensive markets, or simply enough demand to reshape the local one. Now apply the basic economics we've used all through this channel. When a flood of new demand hits a limited supply of homes, prices rise. Calgary had homes, but not unlimited homes, and suddenly far more people wanted them, many arriving with the buying power of hotter markets. So prices climbed. The very affordability that drew people in generated the demand that erased it. The escape destroyed itself by being too successful an escape. This is the trap of every affordable haven. The moment a place becomes known as the affordable alternative, it attracts enough people to stop being affordable. Calgary didn't do anything wrong. It was simply the place everyone fled to, and no place can absorb the affordability refugees of an entire country and stay cheap. The escape valve, used by enough people, seals itself shut. The second reason is specific to Calgary, and it's a vulnerability the other cities don't share as sharply. Calgary's economy has always been tied to boom and bust cycles. Calgary's prosperity has long been linked to a resource-driven economy, one that soars in good times and struggles hard in bad ones. This is part of what historically kept it more affordable. The busts periodically cooled things off. But it's also a double-edged sword, and in the current era, it cuts in a dangerous way. Here's the trap. When the economy booms, money and people pour in, and housing costs shoot up fast. But the busts, when they come, don't necessarily bring the affordability relief they used to, because now the city is carrying all those affordability refugees from elsewhere, and because costs, once risen, are sticky on the way down. So you can get the worst of both. Boom-time housing costs that don't fully retreat, combined with the job insecurity of a volatile economy. That means a Calgary family can face high housing costs and the risk that the industry underpinning the city hits a downturn that threatens their income. The affordability that came from the boom-bust cycle is fading, but the insecurity of that cycle remains. You're paying rising big city prices in a city whose economy can still lurch. The stability the affordability implied was never fully there, and now the affordability is going too. The third reason is the one this whole channel keeps returning to, and it caught Calgary too. The costs rose faster than the wages. Part of Calgary's appeal was the combination: decent wages and affordable housing. That combination is what made it feel like winning. But as the demand flooded in and housing costs climbed, wages didn't rise to match at the same pace. So the magic ratio, good pay against reasonable prices, started to erode from the housing side. And here's the specific heartbreak for the people who moved there. Many came from expensive cities, took what felt like a fresh start, and budgeted their new Calgary life around Calgary's old affordability. Then, over a few years, they watched their new city start to climb toward the very prices they'd fled. The home that was attainable when they arrived would be a stretch now. The margin that made the move feel like a victory is thinning. They didn't do anything wrong. They made a smart, rational move, and the ground shifted under them anyway, the same way it shifts under everyone on this channel. So even in the escape city, the fundamental equation broke. Costs pulled ahead of incomes. Calgary is later to it than the coast, and it's less extreme, but it's the same disease arriving at the same destination. The affordability gap that made Calgary special is closing because the costs climbed and the wages didn't climb with them. The exact pattern that broke everywhere else, just arriving on a delay. But here's the real reason Calgary's affordability is dying, the shocking one that ties this whole channel together. The affordability crisis isn't a property of certain cities. It's a wave that follows people. And Calgary proves you can't outrun it by moving, because the crisis moves with you. This is the idea we first touched on in the Cities Nobody Can Afford video, and Calgary is the definitive proof of it. We tend to think of unaffordability as something that happens to specific places. Toronto is expensive, Calgary is cheap, so move from one to the other and you've solved it. But that mental model is wrong, and Calgary shows exactly why. Because affordability isn't sitting still in Calgary waiting for you. The moment a place becomes the affordable escape, people flood in, demand rises, and it stops being affordable. So the cheap city isn't a fixed safe harbor. It's just the next place the wave hasn't reached yet. And when everyone rushes toward it, the wave arrives. You didn't escape the crisis by moving to Calgary. You just got a few years head start before it caught up, and now it's catching up. That's the shock, and it should change how you think about the entire crisis. There is no escape city. There's no affordable promised land you can move to and be safe, because the affordability crisis is national, and it chases the very people trying to flee it. Every affordable alternative is just a place earlier in the same process, and the more people who flee to it, the faster it completes. Calgary was the last, best hope for the just move solution, and Calgary is showing everyone that the just move solution was always an illusion. The crisis doesn't have a geography you can escape. It has a schedule, and Calgary's number just came up. You can't move your way out of a problem that follows the people, and it always follows the people. Let me make it real, with two families caught on opposite sides of the same wave. The first fled to Calgary. They were priced out of a coastal city, gave up on ever owning there, packed up their whole lives, and moved across the country chasing the Calgary dream. And for a while, it worked beautifully. They bought a home they could never have afforded back east. They had space, a yard, breathing room. They felt like they'd escaped, like they'd finally won. And now they watched their new city's prices climbing, the affordability that drew them here thinning year by year. And they feel a familiar dread, the thing they ran from, following them across the country. They already used their one big escape. There's no further west, no further affordable, to run to. This was supposed to be the safe place. The second family was already in Calgary, born and raised, locals who never left. And they've watched the flood of newcomers, arriving with money from hotter markets, bid up the prices in their own hometown. The house they could have bought a few years ago is out of reach now, priced by demand from people fleeing other cities' crises into theirs. They didn't move anywhere, and the crisis came to them anyway, carried in by the very people escaping it. For them, there wasn't even a move involved. The wave simply arrived at their door. Two families, one city, both caught. One ran to Calgary and the crisis followed. One stayed in Calgary and the crisis arrived. And that's the whole point. Whether you flee or stay, the wave reaches you. There is no position on the board that's safe. And here's why Calgary's story matters to every Canadian, wherever you live. Because Calgary was the pressure release valve for the entire national crisis. As long as it existed as an affordable option, the country had somewhere for its priced-out people to go, a place the pressure could escape to. Calgary absorbed the overflow. It was the reason Just Move was a real answer, and its existence quietly held the whole system together by giving people an exit. If Calgary closes as an affordable option, that valve seals. And then, the pressure has nowhere to go. The people fleeing expensive cities have no affordable big city left to flee to. The overflow that Calgary absorbed backs up into a system that's already at its limit. A country whose last affordable major city stops being affordable is a country with no escape valve, and pressure with no release doesn't disappear. It builds. There's also the warning for every other affordable place. The smaller cities, the towns, the regions people are just starting to flee to. They're all earlier in the exact process Calgary is completing. Watch Calgary, and you're watching the future of every affordable alternative in the country. One by one, as people flee to them, they'll climb the same way, until the map of affordable Canada shrinks to nothing. Calgary isn't an isolated case. It's the leading edge of the escape running out everywhere. And this is where Calgary joins everything on this channel. It completes the city trilogy, and together the three tell one story. Toronto, people fleeing a city that stopped paying them back. Vancouver, a market so detached it froze when it ran out of buyers. And Calgary, the affordable escape ceiling shut as everyone flees to it. 3 cities, 3 chapters, 1 conclusion. There is no safe city in Canada, because the crisis is national, and it follows the people, not the postal codes. It's the same lesson as the broken car ladder and the broken job ladder, mapped onto geography. Just as there's no affordable rung left to stand on in cars or work, there's no affordable city left to escape to in housing. The affordable option is vanishing everywhere at once, across products, across life stages, and across the whole map. Calgary is that truth written in geography. You cannot move your way to affordability in a country where affordability itself is disappearing. That's why Calgary's story is quietly one of the most important on this channel. It kills the last comforting illusion, the idea that the crisis is someone else's problem, contained to a couple of expensive cities, escapable by anyone willing to move. Calgary proves it's all of Canada, arriving on a schedule, chasing everyone. The escape was never real. There was only ever a head start. So where does this go? For Calgary specifically, the honest answer is uncertain. Its boom-bust economy means the path is less predictable than most. But the direction is clear. The era of Calgary as the easy, affordable escape is ending, and that's unlikely to reverse on its own, because the demand that's closing it isn't going away as long as the rest of the country stays unaffordable. And that points to the only real fix, the one this whole channel keeps arriving at. You can't solve the crisis by having people chase the last affordable city, because that just closes it too. The only real solution is to make housing affordable everywhere, to fix the underlying problem so that people don't have to flee across the country chasing an escape that seals shut behind them. When every city is affordable, no city has to absorb the impossible pressure of being the only one. The answer was never move to Calgary. It was make everywhere livable, so no one has to run at all. Which leaves the question this channel keeps arriving at, now with the last door closing. What happens to a country when even its final affordable escape runs out? When there's nowhere left to move to outrun the crisis? So I want to hear from you, and Calgarians especially. Did you move to Calgary to escape unaffordability, and is it catching up with you? Are you a long-time local watching your city change? Where do people even go now that the escape is closing? And do you think Calgary stays affordable or follows the coast? Tell me in the comments below, name your neighborhood, and tell me what you're seeing on the ground. I read every one, and the people living it know this better than any forecast. And if you want clear-eyed breakdowns of the forces reshaping housing and life across Canada, subscribe to Canada Insider. There's a lot more of this story to tell.